Hey everyone, welcome back to When Creatives Thrive, a BOPA podcast. I'm Stuart Rustin, the multimedia manager at BOPA. And before we get going, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the podcast. On this episode, we feature Katie Pumphrey, an interdisciplinary artist and ultramarathon open water swimmer living and working in Baltimore. In 2024, Katie swam an incredible 24 miles from the Chesapeake Bay Bridge to Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Her effort was a celebration of a swimmable Inner Harbor, which has been transformed into a safe, recreational resource for the city. Pulling from her experiences in the water, her paintings, sculptures, and installations use abstraction and imagery to investigate our anxieties and fears, as well as how our imagination sometimes plays tricks on us. Katie explores these tensions through her humor, the connectedness between human instincts, and play. Her latest exhibition, Swimming Pool, which features her signature style, large canvases, and detailed set design, is a full circle moment as she returns back to the Creative Alliance, where she was a resident artist from 2011 to 2014. Katie, welcome to When Creatives Thrive.
Yay, thank you. So great to be here.
So if you don't know Katie, and you're from Baltimore, you've probably been living under a rock. Katie, start by reminding us about your background and how you got into a career as a working artist.
Yeah. I'm Katie Pumphrey. I'm an ultramarathon open water swimmer and artist. Painting has been my first and forever love. I moved to Baltimore to go to the Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA, and study painting. So that's where, professionally my start began, and also my love affair with this city. But I am a lifelong Marylander. I grew up in Frederick County, so Baltimore was always a place to be. And painting has really evolved since I was a student. I graduated in 2009, so that was a little while ago. But it's been really fun to kind of go on that journey and let life impact the work. And swimming has always been part of my world, but my paintings now are like really directly pulling from my swimming experiences and about swimming and bringing in that imagery. So it's been really wonderful. I think as Baltimore's gotten to know me as a swimmer in the last year or two, it's been cool to can make that connection for people to my paintings. So yeah, painting they've always been pretty big. And right now they're even bigger.
So in 2024, you set a record as the first person to ever complete a 24-mile open water swim from Sandy Point State Park to Baltimore Harbor.
Yeah.
And that was actually just after the Key Bridge collapse.
It was, yeah.
So what inspired that particular swim? And just curious, where did that desire to traverse these long distances come from?
Yeah. I grew up swimming. Obviously to go to art school, to go to MICA, I didn't have a collegiate swim career, which when I was making that decision, 17-year-old Katie was really dramatic of goodbye swimming. I'm going to be an artist now. And I thought I had to choose. And turns out you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
We can have lots of passions
Sure.
and lots of professional interests and, find what works for you. And yeah, so swimming, I didn't say goodbye, turns out. And so when I was at MICA, I was, lifeguard. I needed a part-time job. So I was lifeguarding. I was teaching swim lessons. I taught some water aerobics. I was coaching, and which I love, and training by myself. I think I figured out throughout, that time at MICA, being a student, and kind of working out on my own in the pool. I love working out for working out's sake. I'm definitely always an athlete in that way, but I like having a goal. So right after I graduated, signed up for the Chesapeake Bay swim, a 4.4 mile swim from Sandy Point State Park to the Eastern Shore. So the swim, super cool. You swim between the spans of the Bay Bridge. So if you've ever driven over it, imagine looking down, which
God.
If you're ever driving over on the second
Terrifying.
Sunday of June, you'll look down and see 600 swimmers.
Oh my God.
That come around, from around the world to do the swim. It's one of the most iconic swims in the States, but especially in the East Coast. And yeah, when you're down there and you're looking up at the span, it's super cool. It looks like they're leaning towards each other. It's really a wild view.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's really fun. And it's a tough swim. It's definitely not a beginner swim. I've coached hundreds of swimmers to do it at this point, and it is always wild. So I did that in 2010, and that was kind of my intro to open water swimming. And I was like, oh man, this sport is nuts. It's like all the things I love about swimming, but then you're combining, being out in nature, and that like the water is always different, right? You could swim the same stretch day after day, but it's going to be different every time, right? The wind is different. The sun is different. Like everything conditions wise changes. So I kind of kept with the sport as I was, progressing in my career as an artist, and really enjoyed that bay swim. The first thing I said when I finished was like, wow, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. I want to do it again. So of course, and then the next year I did it again, but I also did like a 7.5 mile swim where you had a kayak support. And I loved that team part of it. So then I looked at, like some 10-mile swims and some 15-mile swims where you have like a boat and a team. And I loved that. So that's when I kind of started setting my sights on that like ultramarathon distance. And that's what brought me to the English Channel. So my first English Channel swim was in 2015. Now, 10 years later, I've swam the English Channel 3 times.
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
About 8-9 weeks ago. Which, talk about brutal. That is one of the most brutal bodies of water out there. But just amazing. So, the further I got into the sport, living in Baltimore, I live real close to the water. I walk by almost every day. And, growing up in Maryland, visiting Baltimore all the time, I always thought it'd be so cool to have, more sports, but especially swimming happening here in the city. And living here and walking by the water all the time, that's always been a big thought, a big dream. And, among open water swimming friends, like we're always talking, okay, well, if we get to that day, when we get to that day that the harbor is swimmable, would you get in? And I always said, for the last 10, 15 years, I've said every time, absolutely. Day one, I'm in. So fast forward to 2023 in the fall, I saw Waterfront Partnership, nonprofit here in Baltimore, started teasing their Harbor Splash event, right? So kind of a milestone celebration of the harbor is swimmable, especially, outside of any heavy rain. We are hitting that swimmable level according to EPA standards that all Maryland beaches are following. So anytime you swim, at Ocean City or, any swimming area around the state, we're following the same standards.
Right.
And Baltimore hitting that is so exciting, right? Yeah. That's after decades of hard work from these nonprofits like Waterfront Partnership, but also a lot of investment from Baltimore City. A lot of investment made into our infrastructure, so we're having less, sewage overflows with heavy rains and all sorts of stuff. So it's just really exciting. So I saw them teasing that. And I was like, oh, man, let's go.
Let's go.
So I immediately reached out and said, hey, I want to do a swim. I want to partner with you all. And I want to, champion what you've been doing and that message. But also, let's celebrate, the heck out of this milestone of a swimmable harbor and make a lot of noise. Yeah. And hopefully a lot of press. And not only for Baltimore, which our city, I feel like we just always need more positive news about our city, and I really wanted to make it loud enough that it would hit, national, international news. So in brainstorming what that could be, that's where I really, a lot of discussion of like, where should the start be? How long should the swim be? It was like, well, it can't be small. It can't be ultramarathon swimmer doesn't swim a marathon. It has to be like epic. But I also wanted the start to feel like, very intentional, not just a random dot on the map. So the more that, and this is, months before the swim, my husband and I are looking at a map basically and backing up the start further and further and further. You're like, okay, well, 12 miles. Okay, well, what's 17? Okay, what landmark is near there? All right, let's keep going back. And, we backed it up all the way to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, right? The very far corner of Sandy Point State Park. And that's 24 miles, which 24 miles is right in my wheelhouse. A lot of these big swims I've done, like the English Channel, are in that 20 range. The English Channel is 21 miles in a straight line, but you plan to swim in an S between England and France. So most English Channel swims end up being, 30 to 45 miles. My most recent one, about 9 weeks ago, was 40 miles.
Oh my God.
So similar time frame, but you're playing with currents and tide changes, and to go across that kind of a large span, you have to kind of strategize that. So from the Bay Bridge to the Inner Harbor, that 24 miles, that felt like, okay, that's perfect. And that start felt really meaningful to me in the history of my swim, this history of my experience in the sport, tying back to that Bay Bridge swim. But also, that 4.4 mile swim that starts at Standing Point State Park, 600 swimmers come every year to do it. And just 24 miles away is water that, there's a lot of opinions about. And what better way to make the connection between Annapolis and Baltimore, and that our waterways are connected. I think so many people think the Chesapeake Bay is just kind of like out there, or they think our harbor is the Chesapeake Bay and not the Patapsco River. So I wanted to make all of that connection, right? That's where that swim kind of started coming together, and it was amazing to work with Waterfront Partnership. They're taking care and bringing us the personality of Mr. Trash Wheel, which, he ended up following me into the finish, part of our fleet. And it was truly one of the most magical days I've ever experienced in my life. But planning that swim, it took a lot of people to make that swim happen, logistically, but also in all of the work possible to do the swim in the first place. So, we were getting ready to announce that I was going to do that swim, and then the Key Bridge collapsed, and which is just heartbreaking for our entire city and community, and especially those that are like directly impacted by that resource.
Of course, yeah.
And it changes our skyline and a huge landmark for us. So it put the swim up in the air. And when there were discussions of like, should we postpone the swim to the following year, or how should we approach this, I was pretty adamant that the swim still needed to happen, and that I would just wait until we could do it, because I needed to swim right through there. And the Coast Guard Sector Maryland, and all of the teams that worked to clear the river and open the port and keep that connection to our city going, it was pretty remarkable how fast they were able to do that. And all of the teams that I communicated with, and especially Coast Guard Sector Maryland, was just so supportive of my swim. And then came out and were boating by and waving and cheering us on. And I really did feel like we brought a lot of positivity into the water and into the city. So it was a huge honor to share it with everyone, and to swim into the harbor and into the city, and people were lining the shores and out on the water, and it was just like incredible to see a city cheer on a stranger, and to be able to do that swim was just amazing. And I'm really excited for all the things it's going to bring. A lot more swimming is coming for Baltimore.
That sounds good. I've read that you consider ultramarathon swimming to be a uniquely woman-centered sport. I can definitely see where you're going with that, and wondering if you'd be willing to expand on it a bit.
Ooh, I love that question. Yeah. Women have been dominating the sport of open water swimming for over 100 years. I think it is a sport that women excel at. Physically, when you get into these long, cold swims, women just tend to be leaders in it. And I think that is something that we need to talk about more. I mean, women and girls in sports in general needs to be celebrated and championed, funded, and we need to show up and cheer on these athletes. And historically, there have been some really amazing women that have set huge records. Gertrude Ederle, an American, was the first woman to swim the English Channel in 1926, and she did it without much support at all. And she did it when everyone told her that women couldn't, right? That we weren't strong enough or fast enough. And she went out and she not only became the first woman to swim it, but she crushed the men's time by hours, multiple hours, crushed, which is just incredible. And in most of the records in our sport, they're set by women. So it's been really cool.
It must be something within like the female psyche.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some physical advantages, right? When you're looking at these cold swims, having some extra fat on your body is important.
Sure.
Right. So when I, have to, like, getting ready for my first English Channel swim, I purposely put on some extra weight for warmth, which was really fun, with extra burritos and ice cream in my day. It was hard work,
good.
but somebody has to do it.
I think I'm getting into
It's great.
the marathon swimming.
Right. But yeah, I think women,
It's just like, seems to me like there's an attitude that's brought to something like
well, the world isn't necessarily built for us.
right.
And I think, that's changing, which is important. But, yeah, I think that the pain tolerance among women, it's scientifically proven that it's higher. And yeah, I just think women have to deal with so much bullshit. Am I allowed to say bullshit?
We'll find out.
Nice. Women deal with so much bullshit that, of course, they can handle a little pain, a little discomfort, or a lot. I mean, the sport is definitely
A lot. I would say 24 plus miles worth.
It's definitely
of it.
not pain-free. It is a painful sport, but it's also beautiful, right? It's mentally, there's a lot of hurdles in swimming through the night and swimming in darkness and not knowing what's under you and your imagination going wild a bit, which is definitely something I think about my paintings a lot. But, it's a lot of it's mind over matter, especially when your body starts yelling at you and getting really opinionated about all of what you're asking it to do.
Well, so speaking of which, I'd love to hear more about the connection between swimming and your art practice.
Yeah. They're besties. Very tangled.
Yeah, they must be, right?
It's like a chicken egg situation. People always ask me, like, what comes first, or if you had to pick one, what would you do? And I'm like, there's no way to choose. They so work together. My work, my work has always been large scale painting, primarily. I have gotten into some sculpture and installation in the last few years, which has been really fun. So with my work, I'm always kind of pulling from swimming experiences, thinking a lot about, how our imagination plays tricks on us and how, I've been really exploring how we process anxiety and stress, fear, which can be really heavy of a topic and really, intimidating, kind of scary to stare at that. So I'm often in my work pairing that exploration with bright colors and playful imagery, a playful title, much like the way that we process, the way that we do process our anxiety. So a lot of my work is definitely, it's pulling that together. It's using big scale and these kind of epic scenes, but with playfulness and a bit of humor, which I think we need more of. And like whimsy. And my current work especially, I think, is getting even more whimsical.
Katie, what can you tell us about your solo show, Swimming Pool, that's at the Creative Alliance?
Yeah. So the swimming pool, this is a new body of work. I'm super proud of it. It's about 2 years of work on the walls. Several large paintings, some of the largest paintings I've ever made. One painting is 25 feet wide by 9 feet tall.
My God.
And 25 feet is the swimmers out there will know, is a little nod, little reference, little inside baseball.
Little wink.
That 25 feet is a nod to a short course pool, which is 25 yards or 25 meters. Yeah, which is where I train. So I train in short course. Long course, which is like an Olympic-sized pool, 50 meters. I enjoy, but I still love short course, which really confuses people when they learn I'm an open water, like ultramarathon. They're like, what do you mean you train short course? Why don't you go in the 50 meter? I'm like, I don't like it as much.
Really?
It's just a weird, yeah. I think, I enjoy turns. They're really fun.
There you go. There's that whimsy.
Whimsy, exactly. You gotta do whatever. What's
a whimsy every once in a while.
The swimmers I coach, I'm like, if it doesn't bring you joy to swim in 50 meters, then don't. There will be some days that you got to kind of push through, right? So these paintings are, they're bringing in that whimsy, letting my favorite blues sing. It's a lot of blue. And I'm pulling in, a lot of repetition. So there's pattern from pool tile and, repeating lines like lane lines, and swimmer's hands over and over and over again, right? As a swimmer, I'm constantly thinking about my hands, like keep turning them, go, go, go.
Really? I didn't know that's a thing.
For me, I don't know it's a thing. So if I'm 10 hours into a swim and my body is like, I could stop. I could go for a hoodie and like a warm cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to just talk to my hands and say, just keep moving.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. It's not like some certain technique.
It's not in my fingers. No, it's just it's more in my brain.
If that was a thing. I get it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a one foot in front of the other,
exactly.
But in this particular,
keep going.
I'm catching up.
Totally. There you go. So these paintings are also another form of repetition as history repeats itself. These paintings are also kind of a call and response with historical paintings. So every painting is pulling from the composition of a historical painting. So that 25-foot wide piece is titled Washington Crossing the Delaware. It's pulling from Emmanuel Lut's painting of the same name. So it's using that composition, which is a very, iconic painting, giving kind of a nod to American democracy. But, in it, it's also, it's like Washington, and troops going across the Delaware River. It's very epic. It's, kind of like hero pose. And so I'm bringing in, it's a similar composition, but then bringing in images from my crew and from my swim. And there's nods to the pool. There's nods to open water. There's a secret fish hidden in the water, which is cute. As well as these kind of like whimsical clouds and, grid pattern from tile. So there's all sorts of like symbolism and things pulling in, but a lot of the paintings too are, I'm directly pulling from these historical paintings. And all of them are painted by men. My paintings are just a little bit bigger than theirs on purpose, a little one up.
That's super cool.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, the Washington painting specifically, I was hoping that you would chat about. I did just a teeny tiny bit of research. Didn't realize that was an allegorical painting to begin with. Didn't realize that it wasn't like a facsimile of whatever was going on in that particular moment, that there was like these characters that they had pulled in, characterizing whatever the population was at that time. And so it like just is like such a beautiful melody in my ears to hear that you included like crew and that there was like the squad was there, because that feels like it's kind of your crossing moment there. So that's so cool. Thank you for bringing that up. What else can you tell us about Creative Alliance, though? Like, it's not just a venue, right? Like, there's so much going on there.
So this show, Swimming Pool, actually, so I wanted to have this show at the Creative Alliance, and I pitched this idea a couple of years ago. So it's been a long time in the making. It's been brewing. But I wanted it at the Creative Alliance. I wanted this show in Baltimore. I knew that. Especially as I was finishing these works after my Beta Baltimore swim, I wanted then to, kind of reintroduce to Baltimore my work as an artist and make that connection to the Beta Baltimore swim. And the Creative Alliance, not only is it their main gallery is a huge, beautiful space. And so rarely do you get, to have a huge, giant gallery where you can hang these huge, massive paintings. But the Creative Alliance also, they're a nonprofit arts org. They have multiple art galleries. They have a theater, all sorts of shows, you name it, it's there. And a lot of their programming is free, educational arts program for kids. There's also, a lot of free and all sorts of classes that you can take. They also put on, events like the Lantern Parade in Patterson Park. And then, so it's just kind of a magical place. But as a nonprofit arts org, I think they also really double as a community center. So I wanted swimming pool to be there because there's already kind of this great welcoming vibe that anyone is welcome into their space. And I love, I think as a painter, you can make work and sell it and have collectors, and the work, hopefully sustains itself in some way. But I think it's really important that this work be out there and experienced by anyone and everyone. So while I do hope that this work gets collected, by collectors, hopefully, by museums, I really want that opportunity for anyone to go experience it. And as I build a body of work, I love when it can be seen and experienced together. Right. So not just one painting, but like the whole collection and in the way that I envision. So
more meaningful.
Yeah,
right?
it's a whole thing. So I just love that the Creative Alliance is this welcoming place, and maybe, people are visiting that maybe wouldn't find themselves at an art gallery, or maybe they haven't been to an art gallery before, but they feel inclined to go and, sit by the pool that I've created, this interactive installation, and there's pool furniture for them to lounge on, which it's been great to hear that people are going like hanging out for a couple hours, by the pool that I've painted on the floor. But it's, the Creative Alliance has also been really meaningful in my career. So in addition to all of the stuff that they do, the classes, the galleries, the theater, these festivals and events, they also have an artist in resident program. So upstairs, the Creative Alliance, the main building, so there are two buildings, the Creative Alliance now. There's the Patterson, which is an old art theater marquee you'll see outside. And then across the street, they have the Creativity Center, which has even more classrooms, including a dance studio and a culinary classroom. I mean, when I say there's a lot going on, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
But in the Patterson, upstairs, there's 8 live-work studio spaces. So 8 artists are currently living in the Creative Alliance.
Did not realize that.
Yeah, super cool. So I was a resident artist 2011 to 2014. So the Creative Alliance has been part of my professional and Baltimore experience for many, many years.
Yeah. What was the vibe like on the opening night? I saw some pictures.
Yeah.
Was kind of sad that I wasn't there.
Yeah, I know you missed out.
I missed it.
It's all right, but don't worry. There's going to be more fun. So, yeah, the opening reception, I always think that an opening reception, it should be a big party, right?
Yeah.
It's a big celebration,
Fiesta.
Not only for the artists that they've made this work and they're presenting it, but also like, let's come and enjoy the art.
Celebratory. You've put in a lot of hard work.
Yes. Yeah, we don't need to like stand around and,
no.
scratch our chins and
Nobody needs
think
that.
deeply. Just let's go and experience art, whatever that will be.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully with a beer in your hand, perhaps, because when you visit the Creative Alliance also, there is a Peabody Heights Brewing has a beer proudly called Katie Pumphrey's Big Swim.
Oh,
So
you know what? I think I heard
So
that.
I have a beer with my name on it
my
now.
God.
I know, it's really fun.
It's kind of like a humble brag, isn't it?
It is, yeah. No, actually, it's so funny.
It's just a brag.
My dad recently, especially to all of his friends, but anyone that asks him about it, he's like, yeah, Katie, she makes a lot of great paintings and she's done some swims, but like, did you hear that she has a beer named after her? Like, it's the thing that he's the most proud of.
Thanks, Dad.
I was like, I didn't even make the beer. I also didn't design the label, which is beautiful. The can label designed by Baltimore illustrator Sarah Bolton. Sarah Bolton also designed my Beta Baltimore swim suit, which was printed by Old Eastern Ink Shop. So lots of Baltimore connection.
That night, though, there were people that were actually, quote unquote, swimming
swimmers
in the pool, and there was a lifeguard on duty, correct?
Yeah. So swimming pool features these big new paintings, really exciting body of work, and then this site specific interactive installation. So I've painted, the suggestion of a pool on the floor. There's pool furniture around, those like lounge chairs that pinch your legs just a little bit. So good. So nostalgic. And then I have, a 6-foot tall lifeguard stand. There's also a starting block and a ladder that goes into the floor. So really, really fun. So I recruited a bunch of friends and some family to be my staff of lifeguards. So I had custom lifeguard shirts made, printed by Old Eastern Ink Shop, my buddies over there. And the shirts, their classic lifeguard shirt, but say swimming pool and Baltimore in the back. Very fun.
Oh, that's fun.
And so I also gave these lifeguards whistles and fanny packs, of course. Inside the fanny packs were lifesaver gummies, which I think is hilarious. So they were passing those out at their leisure, and just giving a little whistle, a little toot toot, if people were walking too fast or something, just a little walk,
No. Oh my God, yes.
So fun.
It sends you back.
It does. So it was just really, and then so they were rotating every 15 minutes, and I did learn among my friends and family like whose whistle I had to deactivate. So it was actually my brother-in-law, Brent. He got a little whistle happy. It was so funny. He was actually just standing by the pool. He wasn't even on the in the chair yet, just whistling and like, don't smile. It's just like so funny. So I think people had a great time. But again, how could I bring in more whimsy? And I also wanted to like celebrate Baltimore even more. So I invited Baltimore's community water ballet group, Fluid Movement, came in. I basically messaged them and said, hey, if I get these tiny children's, gym class scooters, will you lay on them on the ground on this painted floor pool and pretend to swim in your swimsuits, caps, and goggles? And they were like, say less, we're in. So throughout the reception, they performed 3 times. They kind of came out on deck, putting on like sunblock
awesome.
And stretching.
No, the sunblock, like on the nose sunblock.
Yeah, I mean, just like the
God.
whole thing, And so then, people kind of gathered around and were cheering. And there were a couple like races that happened. 2 swimmers, they raced 100 IM. So they were doing butterfly, back and breast, and freestyle on these scooters, which was just so funny. I also jumped in and was like coaching them a few times. Not some splits. And it was just like such Baltimore hype. And people weren't totally expecting that it was going to happen either.
No, that's like a wow factor,
yeah.
I'll say.
So it was really fun. So hopefully they'll be back again. I'm trying to kind of bring in those partners and kind of activate the gallery in surprising, fun ways as much as I can. So it's been really fun.
We were also talking before we hit the record button about this idea of having lifeguards on duty here in the city. Like, is that a possibility where we see lifeguards
Absolutely.
at the Inner Harbor?
Yeah, I think that should and will happen eventually. I think there's lots of ways to bring swimming in our Patapsco River and in our harbor. There's lots of ways to bring that in. You look at like New York City, where their rivers, similar to ours, like it's tidal, so it's changing. The flow and things that might move a swimmer around, right, are changing throughout the day and throughout the week and the season, which can present some challenging safety elements. But so while New York City does have open water swims and events for athletes, they are starting to present some recreational areas, right? And so one of the first ways to do that there is they're creating a floating pool in the East River. And so I think something like that could happen in the Inner Harbor really soon.
Oh, wow.
Where we have a floating pool that people can go visit. You're out on the water, you're experiencing the river, but you're kind of in this more protected area. And then I do think we're going to have, hopefully, more recreation in the water, and we'll need some safety elements, and there will be lifeguards, I think, in these designated areas. I think we're a little ways off on that. There's some hurdles to climb, but I think in the meantime, we're going to see a lot more sports happening, a lot more open water swims. We just this past summer saw stand-up paddleboard races through Be More Sup. So you're seeing more. Canton Kayak Club and Ultimate Water Sports bringing in kayak, events, downtown sailing center out there, racing weekday nights, and in all of the ways that we can get out on the water and enjoy it and make that as welcoming as possible to everyone and anyone, I think the better. It is our river. It is our harbor. So something I'm working on is creating a nonprofit called Baltimore Open Water Swimmers, BOWS for short. BOWS in 2026 will officially launch. BOWS is going to be not only the host of the Beta Baltimore Swim, which I hope to run in 2026 with 5 swimmers, So I'll be out of the water as swim director.
Oh, interesting.
So Bose is going to be the host of that, and the event, then become the governing body of that swim and the history of it. Bose in 2026 also will host, and I'll be announcing this more formally as it kicks off. But Bose is going to host a 1 and a 2 mile swim.
That's incredible. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking about the importance of having artists and people who are willing to imagine or reimagine the way that things work involved. It seems like kind of an unlikely hero, right? Like an artist, but
I love that. Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like don't sleep on the creatives around here.
Oh, absolutely. We're the problem solvers of the world, right? We need artists. We need art.
I think so, right? And the positive impacts of thinking differently can trickle into making us healthier, and whether that's like the quality of the water or that's being more active, getting out and meeting new people through these kind of swims. Like, they're
so tangled, sport and art, and I think it's been really wonderful to then use those things to tackle talking about the health of our water and the future of our city, and pride for our city, as well as like complicated issues like climate change that I think automatically some people tune out when we talk about environmental issues, but when you talk about it in context of sport or art, and the future of our city and the health and strength of our city, I think then the conversation connects everybody.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like palatable some ways.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of ways to get involved. And
yeah. Okay, so Katie, swimming is clearly an important part of your life, just based on what we've heard. A life and work, I would say. Is there space in your heart, do you think, for another passion? Like say like a new outdoor activity, or something that sort of challenges both kind of, your mind and spirit, or is like, when you think of swimming, is like, have you found the one?
Ooh, yeah. Great question. I feel like I've actually asked, I've talked to some artists about this, of like, do artists have hobbies, right? Because you're like, no matter, you're always kind of working on something that's impacting your work.
Yeah.
And yeah, as a swimmer, as an artist, like especially since the Beta Baltimore swim, which has been super cool, the things I've gotten to do, and like the schools I get to visit and the people I get to talk to, and it's been a wild, really fun ride. But it's easy for the days to get filled.
Yeah.
And so the stack of books I'd like to read is hasn't changed much in the last several months, and I'd like to go to more music shows. I'd like to go to some events that you're not, like, I feel like I'm not working at, right, to go and just be a spectator. So there's lots of things on my list that I'm still working on, hobby wise, but I'm a bit of a bird lady, and that's a little bit of one of my outdoor hobbies.
Really?
Yeah. So I actually have some friends. We joke, we call ourselves the Baltimore Bird Ladies. We don't actually know much about birds, but we do like to visit.
You gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere. We, I have like the bird app by Cornell University, Marlin. You ever use this app?
No, but
oh my gosh, it's like Shazam for birds. So you listen, it like listens to the bird and then tells you what it is. It's amazing. It's like,
it listens. It's not like a picture and then it
no,
identifies.
It listens.
It knows based on the, oh my
I mean,
God.
This is what we should use AI for, right? That's a whole other conversation. But I do feel like birds, I think I somewhat got into birding in the most casual sense. Through my swims, I'm out there, and often when you're in water like our Patapsco River, where it's a little dark, right?
Yeah.
It's silty, so that's why it looks dark. So I can't see much fish. Occasionally I have, which right out in front of Fells Point, a cow-nosed stingray swam under me a couple months ago.
No way.
Amazing. Yeah, cow-nosed stingray is very common in the water around the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So they make their way into the harbor usually in early summer. So look out for them. They're beautiful. But so more often I'm seeing birds fly by, and I'm a little obsessed with cormorants because they can hold their breath underwater for like several minutes, and it's very cool. And they're just majestic,
very on brand,
and kind of weird, and I like them.
Yes.
Seagulls also, I'm a big fan. I just got a tattoo of a seagull. Her name's Trudy. But also my friends were the Baltimore Bird Ladies. we kind of like share the birds that we've seen, and then we visit the bird themed bars of Baltimore, which
wow.
there are a lot. There are a lot, right? Like the wren
Yes.
in Fells. You got Bluebird in Hamden, the Pink Flamingo in Remington. I mean, you can do a whole bird
bar crawl,
which I'm working on planning with my friends. So that's been fun.
So do birds end up soaring into your work?
They're starting to. There's I worked on some sculptures, which I'm still working on the next chapter of them. I want to make these sculptures that are seagulls floating on the water. I basically want a mechanism inside the sculpture that will then make their legs paddle.
Yes.
Right? Maybe it's a wind-up toy style, like something the viewer does something to activate their little legs. It'd be pretty fun. So I'd love to, I've started working on them. I'm not exactly sure how to problem solve the mechanism, but I'd love for them to be cast in bronze and outside somewhere. I think that'd be really cool.
Well, knowing you, I imagine you'll probably figure it out.
I'm going to try, yeah.
I know you will. Anyway, Katie, it has been so awesome chatting with you. Thanks for being on the podcast. And I'm really excited to have you back sometime soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. This is so fun.
Thanks so much to Katie for joining the podcast. And thanks to you for listening. Remember, if you're a creative person with a story to share, reach out to me at srustin@promotioninarts.org to be featured on the podcast. And as always, when creatives thrive, we all rise.